All right, welcome everybody to Hump Day Hangouts, episode 215. Man, I'm feeling weird because I had to like sit super low to fit the special Christmas headgear in range here, but I'm looking at everyone else, and everyone else looks as goofy as me, so I'm pretty happy. And
hey, who are you calling? What?
Well, what? To share the goofiness, sorry, I meant the holiday cheeriness. Let's start off by saying hi to everybody. Chris, how you doing, man?
Doing good here in the mountains in Austria. So unfortunately no costume from me this week, but maybe next week.
See, we can't even see you. You could have been like, you're wearing a Yeti outfit or something. We'd have no idea. So
yeah, like I'm just in my t-shirt, sorry.
Or you could be buck naked. And for that reason, I'm glad your webcam's on.
Exactly.
And that's how we lost all of our viewers. Hernan, how's it going, man? How's middle of summer for you?
It's good, man. Yeah, we have all of these. Decoration with snows and shit, and here's like 40 degrees Celsius or something. It's nuts. But anyways, I'm really excited for this week, for next week, what we have coming up. So really good to be here.
Cool. Marco, how you doing, man?
What's up, man? I'm feeling a little frosty today. As I said before, so big head, little hat, paying homage to Frosty the Snowman.
That is awesome. Sorry, it cracks me up. It's a great hat. Bradley, how you doing?
I'm well, man. I got my elf hat on with my elf ears, and it's got to be a hat for a kid because it's squeezing the shit out of my head. So I feel like I'm a little lightheaded and dizzy from it.
That's good. If Bradley starts getting angry towards the end of Hump Day Hangouts, you know what's going on. It's the hat.
No, I'm gonna lose the hat here when I go off camera. So
good deal. Well, we got a few announcements for everybody, and then as always, we're gonna jump into answering your questions for you. Real quick though, I want to say if you're new to Semantic Mastery, first of all, thanks for watching. Whether you're watching us live right now or if you're watching a replay on YouTube, that's awesome. If you're looking for the place where you want to get started with Semantic Mastery, because it's a question that comes up a lot, grab the battle plan. And all you have to do is go to battleplan.semanticmastery.com. All right, that's going to give you the repeatable results. It covers a really wide range of areas, stuff like ranking news sites, what to do with press releases, how to do keyword research. And it's not just the guide. We've packed a lot into there. We've got links to tons of training videos, all sorts of good stuff. Also, if you're saying, okay, well, that's great, what's next? Come join the mastermind. If you're really looking to take things up several levels, if you're looking to form that network, that peer group, if you really want to take your local digital marketing to the next level, come join the mastermind. You can find out more about that at mastermind.semanticmastery.com. And speaking of the mastermind, I think we got a couple things coming up. And Hernan, I think there's something going on next week, right?
Yeah, next week we're gonna announce. We're gonna have a big announcement, so that's gonna be pretty awesome. And so stay tuned if you are being, on the fence about joining the mastermind. I'm not gonna, go deep into that today, but if you are being the fence, we're gonna have great news for you. We have a bunch of stuff going up for the mastermind, for the current mastermind members and the new mastermind members, like the POFU pads. We have a new members area. We have a bunch of stuff coming up. Bi-weekly calls that have been going up for quite a bit, and Bradley always over deliver. So stay tuned. Next week's gonna be pretty amazing. If you have been on the fence of to join the Semantic Mastery Mastermind, just be here next week because it's gonna be pretty awesome.
yeah, just quickly, I want to add to that. So we're calling it POFU paths or pathways, which is anybody that's been through or has joined the Toastmasters International. They recently had updated kind of like their course that you go through, their courses that you go through in order to become a distinguished Toastmaster or any one of the levels in between, starting off in that. So essentially it's a training program. And what was cool about it was they updated it from like old paper books to an online portal. And it was more, the old paper method was like you had specific books you had to go through, and you could kind of jump around at which speeches you want to do within the books, but you pretty much had to go in a specific order. It was very limited. But then when they rolled out the Pathways program last year, it basically allowed people to go in and kind of do like a survey or questionnaire they fill out about themselves. And then it would kind of direct them and say, okay, look, we've got all these different courses that you can take, and we can direct you into this way or that way. And so I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was really refreshing as a member of Toastmaster, and I thought that it would be good for And I talked to my partners about it. Adam was in Toastmasters as well, and we thought that that would be a much better way to introduce people to Semantic Mastery, especially in the mastermind with all the, it's because we've been told over and over again, it's like a fire hose of information when people come in and they get overwhelmed, they don't know where to start. And so we wanted to kind of make it easier to really give people specific paths, whether you're a startup or if you're in the growth phase. In other words, you're already making money, but you're trying to grow your business. And so that's really what we're going to be announcing next week. And Hernan's put a lot of work into developing this out, guys. So I highly recommend you come check it out. That said, there's one other thing I do want to mention. I know we did the local Lease Pro update webinar. I think Adam's going to mention something about that, because that's going to be, that replay is going to be taken down today and all the bonuses go away as well. So if you haven't watched it, I would highly recommend that you go watch that now. But one of the things that I was talking about through that webinar was all the processes that go into developing out these assets, and in a way that we can scale it, because it's one thing to know how to build out a GMB asset on your own. That's all well and good. But if it takes 4 or 5 hours to do that, how many can you really do yourself is my point. So if you really want to scale this business and this opportunity while it exists, while it lasts, because we don't know how long it will, then you should really be focused on scaling. And so that's something that I'm covering extensively in the mastermind, is the scaling options. I've been working with a small group from our POFU Live event that we did earlier this year, and we're developing out processes to scale this at a much large, so we can build, many assets per week and have personnel or outsourcers that do it for us. And so that's what we've been developing, is the processes and the training to develop our outsourcers. In other words, to train our outsourcers to do the processes that we have set up and build everything to our specifications. And that's what we've been sharing in the mastermind. So again, if you guys are looking to take advantage of the opportunity that it is present right now while it still exists, then I would highly recommend you come join the mastermind, where you're going to be able to scale so much quicker than if you try to figure all this stuff out on your own. So Adam?
Awesome. Yeah, real quick, I never do this. Can I share my screen?
Yeah, please. I'll lock it on you.
All right, let me do this. All right, so if you aren't in the Facebook group, first of all, come join our Facebook group. But the free copy and paste local lead gen funnel for local businesses was a winner this month of the poll we put in there. So we got that put together for you. Hernan created a best practices as well as some kind of insights. I'm not going to go deep into it because you can go here. It's free. That's it. It's free. Go get it. Check it out. Hernan, like I said, recorded some great information for that. You can import it into your account, and Hernan's even got some ideas on what you can do if you're not a user of one of the page builders. So I'll put the link to that on the page, and like I said, that's awesome. It was the most requested one, so go grab it. Next up, like Bradley said, the replay from Monday is down. Like we said, it was only 48 hours, but if you want to take advantage of this, along with the other people who have so far, you can get local Lease Pro, you can get all the stuff Bradley was talking about, and you can still get all the bonuses, but that's going away real quick after Hump Day Hangouts, right? And the bonuses include the one-on-one private call with Bradley, the free verified GMB listing, and free client prospecting with the video lead gen system. All right, so this is a pretty amazing one. We tried to make it so that literally it's like you're getting this for free. If you buy this, the bonuses are worth more than the product that's already discounted. So I'll put that link up there as well. If you've already got local Lease Pro and you're looking to take advantage of some of the MGYB sales, we got the crazy Christmas sales up already. I'll put that link on, and I'm not going to go into detail. You can go through here and see we got some great deals on the syndication networks at 40% off, done for you RYS stacks 30% off, press releases as well as verifications and a bunch of other stuff. So cruise through it. It's got a couple weeks, but this won't last forever either. It's coming down at the end of the year, right before New Year's.
Yeah, and I would say, guys, go through those those specials for Christmas through our MGYB, because there's a lot of really good deals there. And like, for example, the press release is $20 off. So you can get the press releases, the same that we use for our business. And I talk about how powerful they are all the time. You can even create your own organization page, which is incredibly powerful. It's a great link hub, really. Someplace that it's a semantic hub that you can point as a link target. It uses a link target. It's fabulous. It's got iFrames in it, all that stuff. And you can get those for $79 with that $20 off coupon, which is fabulous. If I were you, I'd buy several of them. If you don't have your own subscription to a press release distribution service, come buy them from MGYB. They're really, really good. And right now they're inexpensive. So I would take advantage of that. Anything else, guys, or should I get into questions?
think we're good to go.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's go.
All right. First up is Jordan Fowler. What's up, Jordan? He says, let's say, hold on, let me zoom in a little bit. Let's say I have a large nursery client with locations across Texas, a chain, all the same brand. Does it hurt to post the same GMB post same day to all 20 locations since they are all a single brand? I don't know because I haven't tested like that. So what do you think, Marco?
Yeah, I really don't know, man.
Okay.
20 locations, single brand, the same GMB post to all 20.
Yeah, I'd try to vary it in some way.
I would too. There's no point in that. It's the same thing. Google is getting the same thing multiple times. You have to think, how will that affect the what I'm trying to do, which is trigger the algorithm in a positive manner. All you're doing is feeding it the same information. Now, if you know anything about the algorithm, it's looking for fresh, unique, relevant content that's updated on a regular basis. And 20 of the same post to 20 different locations does not meet that standard. So that's what I always try to look at. Guys, I'm a fan of publishing as much new data as I can, just feeding the bot new data as much as possible, over and over and over again, all day, every day. That's what I do, and it works for me. You could try it and see how Google reacts. Now, I don't know if that would put the 20 locations at risk. I don't know what would happen because it's not something that I do. Sorry.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, because I always try to vary things, Jordan. You know, I've said that, you know, for years I've been saying that. I don't even use the same content for lead gen assets, or at least I hadn't been when I was building WordPress sites. For GMB assets, it's slightly different. But, you know, again, I would recommend that you would vary the posts. For example, even if you use the same post text, I would still have unique images, even if it's the same image, but geotagged for each individual location that you would be pushing out to, or something like that. And I'm sure there's some way that you could automate that. But I mean, I would do that, at least have it that way. And something else is, you know, we have the auto poster, the GMB auto poster, which now allows spin tags, which is pretty cool, and also post siloing and stuff like that. And that might be something that you could use to where you could set up posting to all individual 20 locations, but have, you know, the same, you basically would have, you go in and set up the post, but have it go out, you know, with the spin tags and everything. It would set out a different variation to each location, in other words, right? And that's something else. By the way, guys, I'm working with a provider right now that's we're going to be able to provide you guys with, from in our store at MGYB, super spun GMB post articles, so that you can just basically purchase one, and it'll be full of tokens that you can swap the tokens out with your own keywords, GMB profile name, phone number, target URLs, all that kind of stuff. It'll be all easily interchanged using find and replace function. And then you'll be able to just copy and paste that into the GMB auto poster and set up auto republish on your posts. And every single time it goes to publish to republish a post again, it's going to select a new version, a new unspun version of that, so that the text is always going to be unique. And so that's going to be huge, guys, because it's going to save you so much time, and it's going to be very inexpensive, very inexpensive. So that's something that's coming. And so that's something that, Jordan, I think would probably work for what you're trying to do. Okay. And that would at least vary it and make it unique on each post would be unique, somewhat unique anyways. That's a good question though. Liz says, hey guys, thanks for the Hump Day Hangouts. Been watching for a while and I have a question. What do you see being the most important thing to do for keyword research in 2019? Any big changes? What tools do you think you'll be using moving forward? Any big changes? That's a really good question. Most important things to do for keyword research in 2019. Well, considering I'm focusing solely on local stuff right now, I'm not doing any affiliate marketing. I'm not doing any real national stuff. I'm just, well, not yet. I've got a big project coming up, but I'm right now, everything I'm working on is primarily like just local stuff. So for me, keyword discovery through GMB Insights is huge. I'm seeing, like, and I've been saying this now for weeks, or if not months, but today I was actually developing out some more keywords, going through insights from many of my lead gen assets and looking at the keywords that are bringing the traffic to the GMB listing, the maps listing. And what I'm finding is just an enormous amount of near me search queries. And so I'm targeting more and more near me stuff than anything right now. And that's because we're speaking directly to the mobile algorithm at that time. And it's just working like crazy. I mean, guys, I'm seeing as much as 50 and even 60% of the engagement coming to my GMB listings now through near me keywords. It's insane. And it's crazy, some of the search queries that are like bringing, you know, like variations of some of the keywords and the way that people, and all that kind of data is new. Those are new type of queries, a lot of them. In other words, there's not a lot of historical data on that stuff, is my point. And so I think using GMB Insights in Search Console, if you're doing more, maybe not necessarily local stuff, but Search Console, if you have Search Console, go do keyword discovery from there, and you'll see what your site is getting impressions from. And I think that's really, really important, guys, to see what Google thinks about your site, and when it gives it impressions, puts it in the search results. And in Search Console is really good data for that, guys, because you can find queries or terms that were used that your site got exposure for that you didn't even know you have potential to get traffic from, right? And then and just because you get exposure doesn't mean that you're going to get traffic, because you could be on page 9. And so in Search Console, if you select the option to see the position, the average position, then it'll show you the impressions, the number of clicks, and in the average position. And like I said, if you look and you see a lot of impressions but no clicks, if you check the average position, it typically means because you're on page 2 or 3 or anywhere beyond that, right? Because remember, where do you hide a dead body? On page 2 of Google, right? So anything really off of page 1 is very, very rarely going to get any clicks. But if you're getting impressions, that means Google is already aware that your site is relevant to that query. So those are really good opportunities, in my opinion, to optimize and find new sources of traffic that you would have otherwise overlooked. So for me, besides the tried and true using Google Ads for discovery, using a alpha beta campaign structure, I love that. It still works really, really well. But then using Search Console and GMB Insights. As far as tools, I still don't use any tools other than the ones that I've always mentioned, which is I use Google Trends as my starting point at all times. And then I use Power Suggest Pro. And I use the Google Keyword Planner sometimes because I do a lot of AdWords stuff. But I really just look at that to see if there's any traffic data from the keywords that I've extracted from Google Trends and from Power Suggest Pro. But whether or not it shows traffic or not, I don't care, because if it's in Google Trends or Suggest, I already know there's traffic on those keywords. It just might mean that people aren't bidding on those keywords, and that's why there's no AdWords traffic or AdWords Keyword Planner data, in other words. So that's my answer. Anybody else want to comment on that?
Yeah, my thing is once I start going in Google My Business, you know, I'm just a total fan of being inside GMB. Local GMB Pro it just makes things so simple. The thing is that the data that you get in Insights is really hyper targeted, meaning that it goes by unique user. And I'll give you Mario's Cab as an example, because they're still getting tons of traffic, even though we stopped posting for them for lack of payment. But I would have never thought to post with the keyword just taxi or just cab,
yeah,
or a cab. And that listing got people to come through by just looking for the word keyword taxi or cab. Who would think that you could rank for that, or that you could get people to come through to their listing for that? It's like, if you have a TLD, that's impossible, right? Or nearly impossible. The money that you'd have to spend to get to that level where you're getting traffic for taxi is incredible. But through GMB, we were able. I just saw last month, 20 people came through using the word taxi.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. That's why I paused my screen.
Okay, 12 came through using the word cab. And Google tells you most popular queries for your business by unique users. So these are people who actually found the listing through that. It's phenomenal. It's incredible.
Look at this. Look at this, guys. And then I haven't done any work for this listing in 3 months now, maybe. And it's still benefiting from the work that I did, which was really only about, the initial optimization. And then I had a VA that was posting to it regularly. And then when payment stopped coming in, we canceled or suspended the service. But it's still benefiting. Look, in just the last month, look at the number of engagements that it's gotten and the keywords that brought it. Taxi near me, cab companies near me. What was I talking about the near me keywords, guys? Remember I just said that? Look at the #1 search query, taxi near me, cab company near me, #2, cab near me, cabs near me. If we go scroll through, I know these are saying less than 10, but you're still going to see a lot of different near me or in my area, close to me, close by, those are variations of near me search queries. And it's huge. And like Marco said, taxi brought 20 engagements in the last month. Does that make sense for just the word taxi, just the word cab? And again, and I've said this many, many times, I would have always mainly dealing in local for my entire career. I have always targeted the keywords with a local modifier, especially with a real short tail keyword like taxi, for example, or plumber or roofer or something like that. I would always optimize for the local modifier, which would be the city name appended to the keyword. But now, because what had just occurred in July with the mobile index first, it's no longer necessary, and we're proving it through insights, which is actual data from Google, from engagements that occurred on our GMB assets or the assets that we manage. And the point is, like, we're seeing that we're getting traffic from just short single phrase keywords in this case, and we're getting direct traffic for it, of which I would have never attempted to optimize for, or at least I would have known that it would be a dogfight to rank for in the traditional old school SEO methods. But because so much shifted in July of this year, that's what opened up all this opportunity. And again, that's why my keyword research methods really haven't changed, except that I'm doing much more discovery through Google Search Console and GMB Insights now than I ever had before. So that was a good example, Marco. Thanks. All right, we're going to keep moving. That was a great question, Liz, by the way. Ken, what's up? Ken, he says, when you are doing your research for the ELC Location Research spreadsheet or gathering any research, are you saving each different iteration to your local personal GDrive? Here's a tinfoil hat question, guys. And Ken, yes, I'm picking on you, buddy. I'm asking because that would seem to create a footprint and connect things together for BigG, or is no big deal in creating folders in my GDrive for all my projects and keeping all files and folder research in each folder. Hey, look, I know everybody has their own varying opinions on this. I think even Marco now keeps his data in Box or something else out, not in Drive, but my entire business is in Drive. It always has been. I don't worry about that shit. I think Google's got much bigger fish to fry. If at some point I get where I feel like I'm nervous about it, I may change that. But for now, it's specifically for me, it's because it's an ease of use for me and my team. It's so much easier for me to manage everything within Drive and have all of my team members have access to it so we can collaborate in real time. And I know that there are other services to do it, but I don't want yet another fucking service that I've got to be logged into all the time. I've got too many as it is. And I personally like Google apps and everything about Google. Like, I've built my entire business on Google stuff, and my entire business is in Google Drive, and I'm okay with that. If you, again, everybody to each their own. I'm not saying my way is right or wrong, and some of you might say I'm crazy, but I've been getting by just fine, and I'm going to continue to do so until someone tells me, proves to me that I need to change it. So Ken, I don't worry about it, but I know some people do. If you're a tinfoil hat kind of guy, and put another layer on, and move your stuff outside of Drive. What do you think, Marco?
It's not so much that I worry about it. It's just that I don't want Google having the data. That's all. Right. And they go into Drive, and I plan, the stuff that I'm doing is going to bring the type of revenue that's going to make Google pay attention. So if they do, I don't want them seeing shit anywhere. I don't want to make it easier for them to like hit me, right? And and they've been known to like signal out people, target people, and just wipe them out. And so if that happens, it's not going to be because they got the information from me. They might get it from a competitor. They might get it from someone who dislikes me for whatever reason, but they're not going to get it from me.
So there you go. Anybody else want to comment on that?
I've been using Google Drive for quite a while now. Yet again, I'm not that worried about Google, so
yeah,
maybe I should be a little bit more worried about that. I don't know.
Yeah, well, you're a paid traffic guy, not so much an SEO guy anymore, so you don't have much to worry about, I suppose.
Yeah.
Or if we're on doing the paid traffic stuff just to fool Google.
Yeah, it's a mask. It's a distraction, right? A decoy.
It's all a ruse.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Will, I actually took the time to read through your questions several times earlier because I had to try to really interpret what it was specifically that you were asking, and I've got a couple things I want to mention. So I actually wrote up some notes for this question because there's a couple things. Will, first of all, Will was at POFU Live. So Will, if you're not in the mastermind, which I thought you were, this was a type of question that's more suited for the mastermind because it's long. And when we do the mastermind webinars, we get into as deep a question as somebody wants to get into. There's really no limit to that. If somebody wants to come on and we could spend 2 hours with one individual's question, if that's what it takes, that's fine. We're happy to do so. But in public, a Hump Day Hangout setting like this, in order to be courteous of others, a long question like this would take me 10 minutes to read through it. So honestly, this is not really the type of format for this type of a question. So if you're not in the mastermind, I'm giving you some shit right now, Will. You should be, because you were at the POFU group, the POFU live event anyways. So you should be in the mastermind, where you can ask these kind of questions. But if you're not, that's okay. I know you're in the POFU group because you were at the live event. So we do have a Slack channel dedicated to the POFU attendees. And you're more than welcome to jump in there and ask as many questions as you want, and we'll answer them in almost real time. So again, if you're not in Mastermind, join it already, Will. And if you don't, for whatever reason, then use the POFU live group for extended questions such as this. Now, that said, I'm not going to read through his questions, guys. You guys can read. Those of you that are watching this on the replay, you know, it's been on the screen long enough. Hopefully you've read it. If you're just listening to it, well, tough shit. Sorry. But here's my answers to his questions. So question number one, first of all, Will, the answering service I use is Answer Connect. It's not callfire. Callfire is a virtual phone number service that you can use to buy phone numbers and redirect or reroute to wherever you want. So yeah, you're conflating the two, but that's okay. Not a problem. CallRail, yes, I prefer CallRail now over callfire for my virtual phone number provider. Also, I know CallRail does also provide answering services. I have not used their service for answering services yet, or like a dispatch center or call routing, that types. I haven't done that yet because I've been using Answer Connect for that. And I've been using Answer Connect since 2012. And there's really no reason for me to change what I've got currently. Now, going forward, I may give CallRail's answering service a try. Okay, excuse me. But Answer Connect does take call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. There's no time off for them. Okay, so all of the service, the lead gen properties that I have that route through a call center, the call center will answer the phone whenever a caller calls, which the reason I do that specifically is because a lot of my contractors, most of, the lead gen stuff that I do is for contractors, and most of my contractors are working contractors. In other words, they're out in the field performing work duties, whatever that may be. And so a lot of the times they're too busy to answer the phone. And I learned a long time ago that when I routed lead gen calls direct to the contractors, unless they had a receptionist that was going to be live and answering the phone during normal work hours, then I was missing a lot of calls that I wasn't getting paid for a lot of calls that I was generating because they weren't answering the phone. And so I lost a lot of money. I left a lot of money on the table when I was routing calls direct to the contractors, unless they had their own receptionist, which was rare, because usually it was the actual the owner of the business that would take the phone call direct on a cell phone. Number two, if you've been doing any sort of lead gen work or client work for any amount of time, you already know how much spam calls come through. So when you send phone calls direct to a client, the more exposure you get them online, the more spam calls they're going to receive. And that's another benefit of having an answering service. A call center will screen the calls so that no spam calls get to, or notifications get to the contractor, the service provider. And that's a huge sales benefit, guys, because when you're talking to a service provider that's going to be buying leads from you, if you can say, hey, the only time you're going to get any lead information is when they're qualified, pre-screened leads, right? They're qualified calls that have been pre-screened by our call center. So you're not going to get hammered with spam calls, and you're not going to get shitty, unqualified messages. Does that make sense? So anyways, from that, yes, my answering service, answerconnect.com, you can go check them out. I've been using them for years. They have a script that they read and ask the caller of, specific information. So I provide that script. So for example, let's say that it's, Culpeper Tree Services, right, is the lead gen asset. Then they would answer, Culpeper Tree Services, how may I help you? Caller would say whatever, and you can go through a whole role-playing thing, and that's basically what it is. Do you provide free estimates? Yes, we do. We provide tree removal, tree trimming, blah, 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 blah. May I take your name, your phone number, the address of your property, when's the best time to call, what's the service you're needing? That's the type of thing. Just a very quick survey that they ask them, and to qualify the call, get the pertinent information, and then from there, that lead, as soon as the call is ended. And by the way, the answering service just says, yeah, we're going to have our estimator call you back as soon as possible, or shortly, something like that. Thank you for your information. Our estimator will call you momentarily. Okay. And as soon as the phone call ends, then the dispatch or the answer connect, they forward the call information, the lead info, the contact information, right, to the contractor via email and text. And I get a copy of it via email for my records. Okay. And so that is the billable call right there. There is no duration. The only time that because that was number 2, I think that was part of your, another part of your question. But also in some cases, and I mentioned this, there's a live call transfer at the end of the contact information being collected by the call screener, the answer connect. Then at the end of that, in some cases, I have the call, which is live routed or live transferred to the actual contractor at that point, but not until all of the contact information has been secured and taken by the answering service, right? Because if the contractor doesn't answer, that way we still have that lead information, and that's still a billable call for me. Does that make sense? So again, that's all done as soon, the moment the call is done, it's mailed out. It's emailed out and texted to the contractor, and then I get an email copy of it. And then, like I said, sometimes there's live transfers. It just depends on the arrangement I have with the contractor. As for monetizing, I have several types of arrangements, but the most are, because you were asking about that, everybody has to have an ROI. Yes. But what I do is several different types of arrangements. Lease location, which is the simplest for a flat monthly fee. It's where the contractor does not pay per lead. For example, if it's maybe it's a GMB asset or a couple of assets or whatever, then I'm going to rent out to them, and it'll be say $350 a month, something like that. Let's say just one asset with an answering service, it's $300 a month. It costs me roughly $50 a month for an answering service for one location. Depending on call volume, that varies, but let's just say roughly 50. So that means I'm making $250. I don't charge on a per call basis for that type of arrangement. Okay, I have several of those out there. Okay, and that's what Local Lease Pro is all about. For pay per lead arrangements, the call is billable as soon as Answer Collect has collected lead info. In other words, Answer Connect screens and only calls that screens the calls, and only the calls that result in full info collected are deemed billable, right? And when I say full info, if a lot of times a customer doesn't want to leave, or a prospect, a caller doesn't want to leave their physical address yet, we ask that. Many times we get it, but a lot of the times, or sometimes people say no, they're not comfortable giving out their address until they've spoken with the estimator. That still counts as a billable lead, right? Because the vast majority of the contact information has been filled out or collected. All right. So that's the answer to number 1. Number 2, you say that you've done your research about, and you were looking at keyword number or traffic data, and then you have some formulas you apply that says you need this number of calls to get a conversion that then converts to an actual sale, and it's going to be this percentage and blah, blah, blah. Look, I understand you've done all that research, Will. That's great. That's awesome that you went through all that trouble. But have you set up any tests yet to test those numbers or and the reason I say that, I'm not trying to be a dick, but the reason I'm saying that is because I can't tell you how many times I've tried to do research about keywords and found that there was no data or little data or poor data or very low numbers and things like that. But then I've set up campaigns that just knocked it right the hell out of the park with traffic and conversions. And I've had that occur via AdWords, like Google Ads, but also just from SEO campaigns. And so my point is, even though you may have seen the data and you've applied some formula or another, every specific location, and I have found, will produce unique results, right? There's going to be commonalities among all locations, yes. But what I found is I could have a tree service Google Ads campaign set up in one location, and then the same campaign basically set up in another city. And I have, there's a set of keywords that are going to be typical or normal, but then I see a lot of traffic coming in from different sets of keywords for each location, if that makes sense. So what I'm saying is, regardless of what your data shows, without you actually setting up a test campaign and like pulling actual real data in, then you're really flying blind. All you can do is make an educated guess. You're speculating, right? And so I would recommend one of the best ways, guys, to find research is to set up to determine which types of keywords are going to be bringing traffic and which types of leads you can get, what conversions are going to be like, is throw some money at Google Ads. Set up some Google Ads campaigns. You can do it with lead gen stuff, guys. Invest some money to discover what your industry is really about, like where the traffic producing keywords are within your specific vertical. And guys, that spending some money on AdWords is a great investment in that case, because you'll find out which keywords are bringing the clicks. And you can actually start to dial in your copy and your landing pages and everything that way, so that any SEO that you apply, you already know is going to generate results, because you've got the data from AdWords that proves it. And you've been able to start dialing the campaign in on that side. Because remember, yes, you're spending money on Google Ads, guys, but how much time does it take to get significant results from SEO? I mean, obviously you can do some local GMB Pro stuff and some local Lease Pro stuff and get some quick results initially. But I'm talking about, if you want to build a really good campaign like what he's talking about with the type of leads that he wants to get, then I would recommend that you would be doing content marketing and developing out, a real good content strategy to start capturing all those different types of keywords that could bring traffic. But that's going to take time, right? And you can get some initial results immediately with Google AdWords, which will also give you the best data that you can use to develop or design your SEO campaigns around. Okay, it's great questions. Again, Will, next time, save this length of a question for either the mastermind or in the POFU live group, and that's only to be courteous to everybody else. Does anybody else want to comment on that before I move on?
I think that was perfect, Bradley.
Okay, I need a drink after that one. Olean's up. Following the manual approach of getting an address for my GMB profile, besides the Postal Box, which, by the way, I had a PO box that I had secured a few weeks ago, and it was going to run out of. It was before I was buying them up from our own services, really. And I had one that had I had gotten notification that I hadn't gone and actually claimed the box, and got the number assigned and picked up the keys and all that. And so I went to go do that just yesterday, as a matter of fact. And I had filled out the street addressing form and all that, took it to the post office, and they basically denied it. They said that they wouldn't honor the street address option at that particular location, which I thought was bullshit. It was. I've said many, many times, guys, that sometimes you have to educate the postal workers about that street address option. Well, this was the first time that I've had to educate many of them that said, "Oh, I'm not sure that we do that." And I'd say, "Yes, you do. I got this from the USPS website. This form. Every one of you do it. It's United States Postal Service. It's not an independent. This is not an independent postal service. You know what I mean? It's the National United States Postal Service. You all take this form." Well, this one today denied it. And so it was crazy, or yesterday, I guess it was, denied it. So I walked out of there mad, and I was actually able to get a refund on my PO box anyways. And I shouldn't have even spent the time to drive out there, because we have our own service now, and it would have saved me a shit ton of time. But since I had already paid for it, I thought I would do it. So just so you know, that PO box stuff, it does work. There's no doubt. I've got them all over Northern Virginia. But there are some locations that just flat out, they're going to tell you no because they don't understand it or they haven't been educated on it and they won't let you do it. So just keep that in mind. But to finish Alina's question, she says, besides the Postal Box, would you recommend to get an address from a co-working space in my local area? The niche I'm working on is internet service related, and the co-working location at my service could match. Yeah, you can do that, Alina. If you can get mail there, a physical address, sure. You absolutely can do that. I wouldn't get some of the UPS mailbox stores and stuff like that. I wouldn't use those. Those typically get flagged really quickly. But yeah, those shared workspace or co-working spaces, as you're calling it, those will work as long as you can get mail there. It's a physical building address and all that. Yeah, absolutely. I've spoken to them about receiving verification from Google, and they allow companies to operate and work from its premise. Yep, being that Google is aware of this co-working space's address, since they have their own verified GMB profile, do you see any issues with getting another GMB profile with the same address? No, because here's the thing. In this case, you literally could go to the co-working space to meet potential clients or clients, right? You could and that's what the whole co-working spaces are for. It's for people that's like flexible office space, right? So let's say you work from home, so your home isn't conducive to entertaining or prospecting or pitching prospects, right? You know what I mean? So, and I wouldn't want potential prospects come to my house or clients come to my house either. So these co-working spaces, that's what they're designed for. So I don't think it would be an issue. Now, I haven't actually set one up there, but I don't think it would be an issue because that's a perfectly valid reason to have a co-working space or shared office space, right? Because you work from home, but when you need to host an event or meet with clients, then you go to your shared office space. To me, that's perfectly logical. I don't think it would be any problem. Anybody seen any problems with that?
I think that's pretty cool. I haven't thought about that, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, I don't see any problem because she's going to have her own business name and she's going to have a different phone number. The only thing that's going to be the same is the address, and hopefully they'll give you like a suite or some type of identifier that will make the address a little bit different.
Like a box number or a suite number.
Yeah, from everybody else's. And so that's perfectly okay. Think of an office building and how many different companies can share an office building, right? Mm-hmm. Google doesn't see any problem with that. So the co-working space idea is to me is in that same vein, in that you're in an office space, you're renting office space just like if you were with all other companies, except that this would be just part-time and just to do what it is that you need to do. I see it perfectly okay.
Yeah. Good question, Alina. Woodwine Gift Boxes says, can I place iFrames into a JPEG image metadata area? I'm thinking of some type of infinite loop to drive album and back. I'm not sure why you'd want to put an iFrame in the comments section of the metadata of a JPEG image. I don't know what that would accomplish. Marco, would that accomplish anything?
It would just get the code in there, but he actually got me thinking. And Scott, because I think this is Scott, right? Scott Rogers. Here's the deal. Nothing beats a try but a fail. He wants to have an iFrame stack within that JPEG image. So do that, but then drop some schema before the closing tag in your iFrame. Add some schema in there, and then run it through Google's structured data testing tool, right? You're going to have to upload the image somewhere so that Google can go in and
oh my gosh, I see what you're saying.
Look for structured data, and if Google reads it, then you just got an iFrame stack within that image. And wouldn't it be good if you could just duplicate multiple times within that comment section, different iframes? I'm thinking ID loop the loop.
Hey, you do realize we're on Hump Day Hangouts right now, Marco?
Oh, sorry.
Aren't you usually the one pulling the reins back on me?
No, he got me thinking. Sorry.
But guys, did you just hear what he just said? I don't know whether that'll work or not, but that's the next test, right? Guys, take an image. Even if you're not trying to stack an iframe in the metadata, just create JSON LD markup, like local business markup, for example. Drop it in the comment section the metadata of the JPEG image, save it, upload it, and then go to the structured data testing tool with the image file URL, right? And stick that in there and test it and read it and see if it will pull back the structured data. I'd never even thought of that. So, and that was just, I mean, and again, I haven't tested it. It might not work. They might not read it at all. But that's an interesting test. I'd like to test that now.
Yeah, me too, which is why he got me thinking, and it just got the juices flowing. And I said the only way to test that is doing it that way, to see if Google will read the code.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a new test. Okay, cool. Can an iFrame be tweeted out somehow? Well, like when you tweet out a YouTube video, that's basically a tweeted iFrame. I don't know if you can iFrame other stuff, because Twitter just converts the YouTube URL into an embed, which is an iFrame. But Marco, can you tweet out an iFrame?
I think that Twitter turns it into an image,
okay,
if I'm not mistaken. I haven't done Twitter stuff in a long time, guys. We haven't needed to look for that extra power. So Twitter stuff, it's like I'm out of tune with Twitter right now.
Yeah. And I was never in tune with Twitter. I just never cared. Honestly, I know you can get a lot of power from it, but it's
we used to do some nasty shit with Twitter, you know, like pinging t.co to Google Jordaner, and then we would ping it with something like Scrapebox, and on Google Jordaner would show up like, you know, a bunch of hits coming from Twitter, you know, like simulating virality. So that was fun. But yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. Yeah, you could take a tweet with a Google short URL and then have it retweeted, and it would look like hits to that URL. Like,
right.
Yeah,
because at Twitter, anything that you throw at Twitter will become a t.co shortener.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you could mimic viral, like a post going viral or a video going viral by just buying retweet gigs from Fiverr. It was cool. It worked really well for video SEO. It probably still does. I haven't done it in a while.
Maybe.
Yeah. Jordan says, second question, if others aren't waiting, ideally we like to put the map embed from the drive stack on the footer so it's on every page of site, but some clients don't like it aesthetically. How much power are we losing putting it on a locations page and or contact us page only? FTR, I'm embedding it in an ad ID custom local biz page. I wouldn't worry about it, Jordan. As a matter of fact, if you take a look now, I'm going to talk about this from a couple, and I'm sure Marco has some input on this too, but when it comes to structured data, I know that's not specifically what you're asking about, but when it comes to structured data, like local business markup or organization markup, that kind of stuff, it's not necessary to put that site wide, right? It's specifically in Google's structured data guide. It talks about how it really only needs to be on a locations page, about us page, or contact us page. That's it. It doesn't have to be anywhere else on the site. We typically put it site wide, right, in the HTML header, but we don't have to. It can be, according to Google's own recommended best practices guide, can be on a locations, about us, or contact us page, right? So when it comes to like a map, I totally get that. If a client doesn't want the map site wide in the footer or in the sidebar or something like that, then just put it on the contact page, about us page, or locations page. That's perfectly fine. Since you have an ad ID page that you have the map embedded into, that's where you do all your nasty stuff. You don't need to worry about having it on every page on your site. So that's my take on it. I know you can get more, you know, link equity or link flow flowing to a map that's on the home page in the sidebar or in the footer than you could if it was on an inner page, obviously, right? Because that's where most of the juice flows to a domain, is the root. But again, I wouldn't worry about it since you have an ad ID page. I would try to, obviously you got to always consider what the client wants. So Marco, what do you say?
Yeah, if you follow RYS training, especially the black book, we recommend the home page just for that reason. Most of the link equity, most of everything goes into the home page, and then Google branches out from there. So that's why we recommend it on the home page. You can make a My Map look really good, right? I mean, with custom pin and all that stuff, so that the client doesn't really complain about what it does aesthetically. And I mean, if you're scrolling down, I don't know what the concern is with a My Map in the footer. You can always control it with widget logic, right, or some other type of plugin where the map will display so that it doesn't display site wide. But I do like it on the home page, Jordan. Maybe you can sneak an accordion in there,
Yeah.
Right? Some type of accordion so that it's hidden within the accordion, but I want it either on the sidebar or in the footer or both.
What about instead of an embed, just a contextual link in the footer or something that says, you know, see us on Google Maps or something? You could even put a keyword as the link and just linking to it. That's still not as good as embed. I get that, but then you'd still have a homepage link pushing equity to it.
Yeah, but it's not the iFrame. I'm looking for the iFrame. That's all I'm looking for. I'm looking for that iFrame with that JavaScript link going back to the My Map and the Drive stack.
Then I got you. Then Jordan, there you go. According to Marco, yeah, an accordion menu, like an expandable menu, that would be good. If you could put it behind something that like somebody clicks on it, it expands and there it is. But that way it's still on the home page. It's still benefiting from the root, you know, the home page. So there you go. All right, Matias says, hi guys, one question about GMB listing verification. I know that a lead gen assets you promote are mainly for service area businesses, but I found some easy to rank opportunities for local real estate accountants, etc., and would like to build my own asset for rent instead of working on theirs. Since these are niches which typically use physical locations, I was thinking in using co-working spaces for verification, and then once I close the deal with the client, redesign the website with their name and logo, but keeping my address and tracking number, or perhaps the only option is to rank organically with the standard WordPress site. Yeah, well, the problem with doing those type of businesses is remember a point of sale business or a storefront where the customer comes to the business location to transact business, like an accountant, for example, for the most part, right? People will go to the accounting office. I mean, my accountant actually comes to my home, but again, for the most part, if you're going to be doing it that way, storefront type businesses, the problem arises when a user, a Google user, does a search like accountant near me or CPA near me, right? And then they find your listing. And what happens if they don't call? They just go to the office. People do that still, right? People still do that. They still find something near me and then go to that location without calling or anything. So what are they going to do? They show up at a co-working space, shared office space, like we were just talking about earlier, and the accountant's not there because you're just leasing that asset and directing leads to wherever the accountant's real office is. So that would piss users off, and it's eventually going to end up either with negative reviews on your GMB listing for that, or it's going to get reported as the business doesn't actually physically exist there, right? And then Google will terminate it for spam. So that's the problem with trying to do lead gen stuff with storefront businesses, guys. You know, again, you're welcome to try it, but I'm telling you that the potential problems that you're going to run into that are very likely to happen, because again, a user, I would be pissed off if I did a search, something near me, right? Found a store, supposedly, and I go to drive to that location or walk or whatever. I get to that location to find out that it was a spammed GMB listing. I'd be pissed. And I'm an SEO, you know what I mean? So I would even understand why they did it, but I'd still be mad that they wasted my time. Does that make sense? And so I would either end up leaving I would leave a shitty review or it would be reported. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying I would report. I don't typically do that. But my point is somebody would. And that could end up being a problem. And it would end up, if you end up with negative reviews on your maps listing, it's going to affect your GMB asset, even if it doesn't get reported. But if you end up doing it for clients and you rebrand it for them, then that's technically it's negative reflection on their business. And that could be a problem for you too. So I don't recommend doing it for storefront businesses, guys. In that case, organic rankings and Google Ads. Those are my two favorite sources for that type. Okay. What do you guys have any comments on that, or should I move on? We're almost done anyways, I think.
Let's go.
Okay. Brian says, how do you use CallRail phone tracking for a client's GMB account or on other properties? Because won't that create an NAP consistently problem? Yeah, Brian. So you don't use, you know, I'm talking about when you set up an asset, start off using your own tracking numbers. If you have a client that you need to track numbers for, all right. I know there's a AdWords phone number that you can add additional numbers to GMB. To a Google My Business listing. So as far as if all you're doing is trying to track calls through the Google My Business listing, then you could have both phone numbers in there because Google will be aware of both numbers. So your NAP from your citations would still be built to the customer's number, but you could have the GMB listing displaying your tracking number as long as the customer's phone number is still in the GMB dashboard, as you know, as because you can add more than one number is what I'm saying. But you would make the primary number your tracking number. Now, I haven't tested that in quite some time. I don't know if that's going to cause problems with existing citations out there and NAP inconsistency. My point is Google. The reason why I'm telling you this is because I know for a fact, and I've talked on the phone with Google support rep, Google My Business support reps about this. I have a client that has a physical location that is displayed incorrectly in Google Maps. When I edit the info, it's a storefront business. It's a preschool. When I edit the info for the store, you know, the location of the business, it's always correct. It's been added or inputted correctly to GMB. Yet GMB or Google My Business, Google Maps displays the address in a different format. And so I contacted them and said, well, how am I supposed to build, you know, business directories listings? Should I use the correctly formatted address, the way that the United States Postal Service says it should be, you know, standard address formatting, or should I use what's displayed? And the Google reps have said to me that I should use what the correct address format that is entered in the back end or the Google My Business dashboard. Even though Google is displaying it differently, they're displaying it differently because the other addresses in that shopping center are displayed that way. So it's the more common display type. So all the citations are built with the correct formatted address, which does not match what shows on the Google My Business, if that makes sense. So my point is, and yet I've never had any problems with that listing. I was able to get it ranked very, very quickly, and it's ranked today. That's been a client of mine now for a little over a year. So my point is, I know that as long as the data on the back end is inputted correctly, the Google is aware of it, so it shouldn't cause you any problems if you want to add your tracking number as the display number in GMB, as long as the primary business number is still included in the GMB dashboard. But again, I have not tested that specifically. It should work, but I haven't tested it. The only other way that you could do it would be to set up the listing with that number, or flat out just the tracking number, I mean, or flat out change it and then do a citation cleanup. But then that puts you in control of their phone number across all their listings, not just their maps listing. And most clients aren't going to go for that. So as far as tracking other results, remember you have GMB Insights, and you should have probably access to analytics. So if you're doing work for your clients, then you should always take screenshots when you start the project. And then I take screenshots monthly so that we have a progression. They can always go back and look at screenshots side by side or scroll through them in a folder and look and see the type of results, you know, increase in impressions, increase in number of keywords, you know, increase in traffic numbers, decrease in rank position, or, you know, like getting higher in the search results, you know, that kind of stuff. All of those are kind of metrics that you can show to prove what you're doing if you're not tracking calls specifically. That was a good question. We're almost
CallRail has dynamic call tracking or call insertion, or I forget what it's called in CallRail. But look into that so that you can track results for the client. Now, as far as GMB, get your own assets and redirect the calls to the client. You track them in CallRail. You send them to the client's number. Everybody's happy.
Yep. He says, I asked the PressCable guys. Dan says if they could tell me which purged their press releases, and this was their response. Please be advised that all news sites purge PRs from sites, and that's not true. Because Digital Journal, I know for a fact, has PRs that I've published that are still live from years ago. They're still link targets. So Digital Journal's one. That's absolutely not true. Most of them probably do at some point. For example, and I've said this before, NBC 29 is the Richmond, Virginia NBC affiliate, and Richmond is the capital of Virginia. And so NBC 29, every time a press release gets published for a Virginia, you know, a client of mine or one of my lead gen assets that are in Virginia, the NBC 29 press release typically ranks very, very well. But I've seen those live as many as 6 months later. I think 6 months is like the definitive cutoff point where they purge for those. But I've also seen, like, no shit, on the NBC 29 domain, the press release purge within 2 weeks. So I really don't understand when that, like, you know, sometimes it's 2 weeks, sometimes it's a month, sometimes it's 6 weeks, sometimes it's 6 months. So I don't understand what their criteria is for purging. And so there may be some publications out there that it's a year and then they purge them or whatever. But that's why, like, I went back through the local PR pro training, and I very specifically talked about with the PR stacking that you should really know the services that you're using to identify which are the best stacking targets. In other words, find ones that are permanent. And that's why I love Press Advantage, and that's why we use it so much. And we sell Press Advantage press releases, right? Because the Press Advantage domain itself is powerful. You get an organization page, which is a great link target. It's fabulous. Plus, it's got iframes embedded. It's awesome, guys. But then the actual press releases from Press Advantage rank very well. They're very well written. You get a do follow NAP and a do follow link on it. It's just really, really strong, and they don't purge. And so those become now are my primary link targets for a PR stack, are my Press Advantage PRs, or Digital Journal, which are all no follow links, but it's still powerful. And then if you are submitting press releases through PressCable, you'll notice that, and it might only be on premium distribution, but you'll get distributed out to newswire.net. Newswire.net, I don't think they purge from there either, and that's another good link target. So I would check into that, Dan. I can't remember though, because I have a subscription to PressCable too. I don't remember if Newswire.net is only for the premium distribution, or if that's part of the regular distribution. All right, last 2 questions, guys. I know we're a couple minutes over. We should be out of here in about 3 minutes. Wayne says, "What is today, Bradley? Let's give away all the goodies from the mastermind." Yeah, LOL. Truly good stuff you're sharing here today. If you haven't seriously considered joining the mastermind, then consider today's info just a taste of the high quality info you will garner from Mastermind. Thank you, Wayne. We appreciate that. Merry Christmas to you, buddy, and your family. But Wayne's been a member of ours for as long as I can remember. So thanks, Wayne. Casey says, "Thank you guys for doing this. How do you get the most bang for your buck on each Google post?" I guess timing, really. Have a good image, but the timing is really important. Marco talks about that a lot. You know, you can see that, you can identify those kind of the best times just from looking at insights reports. So look at your Google Insights, Casey. I'm not going to go into detail here, but just go look at your Google Insights report and take a look at the days that, you know, bring the most engagement. And those are probably the days that you should be posting more often. And that's probably how, I mean, at least in my opinion, that's probably how to get the most bang from a GMB post, if that makes sense. Marco, what would you say?
If you go into the historical data, you can actually get the times when people tend to reach out for whatever. I don't care what it is, what niche. There are certain times that people are more active than others. Days also, we found that out with Mario, what the days were when we should be posting in the times, and that's all in the historical data, and that's all shared inside local GMB Pro. I'm not going to do it in here.
Yeah. What's really cool is I recently landed a very large, well, for me, AdWords client or Google Ads client. It's about $20K a month in ad spend, and that's the biggest account I've managed for AdWords specifically. And it's really cool because there's a lot. AdWords has come a long, long way in the last year, guys. It's really crazy, like the amount of stuff that's been added in AdWords, like automated bidding strategies and all this kind of stuff. But what's cool is they have an overview report now, which will show you that if you're using, it'll give you recommendations on how to optimize the campaigns more. And one of the things that it does is it shows you, after you have enough data, it'll show you the times of days that your ads are most likely to receive clicks, or that people are most active and engaged in or most active searching for those type of keywords. So it will actually tell you that through using automated bidding strategies, it can increase your CPC bid or whatever during those times, and decrease it during the times that the data shows that people are less likely to be active, so that you can stretch your marketing, your budgeting dollars out further, right? You can get more bang for your buck, essentially. And so that kind of data you can actually apply to even that's what Marco's saying. You can get similar kind of data. I don't know if it's nearly as accurate, but you can get similar data from GMB Insights. And if you are using AdWords, you can also plan your content strategy around the publishing content at those times that AdWords recommends that will be people most likely to engage with your ads or your content. your brand, if that makes sense. So again, use the data that they give you guys to fine tune your marketing campaigns. That's all I can say. All right. Thanks everybody for being here. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. We'll see you guys next week.
See you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.